But first, let's hear what the Chief of Defense Forces a week ago said when he attended a function which was coordinated by the National Intelligence Service at the National Intelligence Research University here in Nairobi County.
So wakati watu wanaamua kwamba tumechoka na hii serikali na mulichagua wenyewe, alafu mnasema must go. That must go must be done according to the constitution. Si ni kweli?
Galma, to you, was this a legitimate warning on the state of affairs, security per se, or it was a case of the military man dipping his hand in the hornet's nest?
Thank you, Ayub. I think this is, first of all, the breach of our country's sovereignty, and it's a blow when it comes to dividing the roles of, the civilians, the political institution, the executive, and the military. And this is a trend that we've started seeing just also yesterday when we saw the police inspector being given an opportunity to address a political rally. I think, for heaven's sake, when a chief of defense force, somebody who is given the mandate to protect the sovereignty and the safety of this country alongside our borders, commenting on political issue, I think this should be enough to give you a bad sense of things, or not uncomfortable sense of things, because the last time I've never had a chief of defense force. I've lived through the times of Karanja, Kibochi, and these CDFs, and we've never seen CDFs really dipping their hands politically speaking about this, and it's really not a good place to trade. And Ayub, I did not get much time to respond to what my colleague said on these issues of broad-based government and everything. As an international student from Kenya who is in Germany, I will say, how broad-based are we, fellow comrades, when our foreign policy as a country is really in tatters? And I'm speaking this because you remember, I think it was on page 60, page 51 or page 60 of the manifesto of the Kenya Kwanza, when President William Ruto said he's going to deliver 1 million jobs a year. And in 2023 October, I think according to tabloids, he said we are only going to deliver 680,000 jobs for the whole of his term. And I will say, appointing a young man to the position of a PS is not a sign that young people are going to be placed. We are not looking for representation. We are not looking for inclusion. We are looking for the things to work right. You cannot approach the Saudi government telling that 500,000 Kenyans are going to be hired by the Saudi government. This will not work, Ayub. As I'm currently in Germany, the agreement that the Kenyan and the German government signed, saying that 250,000 young people are going to be hired, never worked. Because the German authority will never allow you to work here if you are not proficient in German, if you are not proficient in some of the construction skills. It will take you more than 2, 3, 4 years for you to officially get such kind of entities. And I feel we are really not in place to speak about broad-based. I think we should be forward-based when it comes to our policies and how to include young people. Thank you.
Okay, and specifically the advocates here, when the military man talked about the must go, did he fail to appreciate, first beginning with you, Ascon, the question of impeachment, where Parliament is vested with the power, where we donate that power to Parliament to impeach even a sitting head of state?
I think what the Chief of Staff was attempting to address, although I may agree with the content of what he was saying, but I don't think it is in his place to come out very boldly to speak about it in the manner that he did. He was just as clear as I would be on the question of how to transition governments. We know we can apply our constitution, ensure we replace our president through an impeachment. We have to wait for 5 years and go for another election. We have processes and procedures that are properly prescribed in the law. And therefore, what he was saying was actually accurate to the extent that he was demanding of us to apply ourselves to the constitution each and every time we want to make a decision on the affairs of running our country. But I am not very convinced it is in his place to speak about it, and particularly with the choice of words that he used. By saying you elected a leader and now you want to replace him, or you don't like him and you want to tell us must go. That kind of narrative may not be very acceptable, particularly coming from a person who holds an office like his. It may also not be very acceptable coming from a person of the status of the Police Inspector General. They may be saying the right thing, but our Constitution actually envisages that based on the responsibilities that have been bestowed upon them, there are some discussions that they should be able to avoid. Okay. But you may also understand that there is political pressure that defines the manner in which people in such offices behave. You will remember that at one time, former CJ David Maraga, who, I'm pleasantly informed that he's contesting for presidency in the next election, had to join the president at a rally somewhere, hanging on one of the vehicles. And everybody was up in arms asking, you're the Chief Justice, you're going to sit to determine the outcome of an election, and yet you're out there in a political rally with the president. That would have pointed that CJ Maraga had taken sides. But you may also want to understand the political pressure that would come with such offices. Okay. But it's important that we understand that our Constitution provides for the independence of the offices that they hold, and that must be able to act within that space and parameters. Yeah, Naima.
Yeah, just to add on that, Ayub, that statement left a very bad taste in my mouth. Unlike the military, where probably people do not enjoy their rights, probably following orders here and there, Kenyans have a robust Bill of Rights. Kenyans have a robust Bill of Rights to express themselves. If today I want to say the president must go, nothing limits me. It's not contra constitution. It is contra constitution to limit people not to speak on what they want to speak, as long as it is not illegal. And looking at the articles of the Constitution that deal with impeachment of the president, if you look at the wordings of these articles, honestly, you do find that it's almost impossible to impeach a president, especially if we're going through the parliament route. It's all about party politics in parliament. How will they impeach their party leader? If you're looking at Article 142 that deals with impeachment, not impeachment really, dealing with the immunity of the president against
private prosecution.
And private prosecution. So at the end of it, it talks about that the immunity does not extend to external treaties that the countries have signed. So if you're looking at the president, traveling to ISIS, to a country that is governed by a treaty that, he can be arrested for issues like what was witnessed in the Gen Z demonstrations. Maybe these are the articles that can help us impeach the president. That and maybe the popular initiative through a referendum. But when you're looking at Article 144 and 143 through the parliament, I feel like Kenyans will just be, having a wild goose chase. We know our MPs. Okay. Yes.
But if you may allow me just briefly, I could agree with Wakili to an extent that they're provided for mechanisms for, finding remedies whenever we feel that there are challenges with our governance system. But what I think the Chief of Staff was attempting to paint out there, which for me is very important, is that we need to apply ourselves to the Constitution. We can't be speaking from both sides of the mouth, where as Kenyans, we are demanding that the president must follow the law. We are demanding that our leaders must follow the law. But when it comes to how the president should be replaced, we want to generate excuses that, the impeachment of the president may not be very possible, so we can go out in the streets, demand that he leaves office, and actually we achieve that. It's not very advisable to go that direction because we don't want to fall into anarchy. It is important that we have to understand. If you want to go through impeachment, Deputy President Gachagua was impeached successfully. It has proven that it is very possible. For the very first time, an election of the president was, turned by the Supreme Court. So it is very possible that actually the President of the Republic of Kenya can be impeached, but we have to apply ourselves to the law. The other option that we have is to wait for 5 years, go to the elections, organize, and vote against that president. It is possible.
Davis, coming to you. Do you agree when the Director General of the Intelligence Service says, quote, divisive politics has found a new breeding ground with on our social media platforms. This is polarizing our people and undermining national cohesion. Yet national cohesion goes hand in hand with national security. Are Kenyans misusing social media, or they're using the same as an avenue to vent out?
First I want to say that I love the military and what they have been doing and the NIS. And I want to say that using her words, that the speech left a bad taste in her mouth. Because 1 year ago, we lost a CDF, and to date, we've not been told the circumstances under which he died. So, coming from that gentleman to this political speech left a bad taste in my mouth. Secondly, I want to say that coming from the CDF to the NIS director to yesterday's director, the inspector of police, looks like there is a targeted messaging that these people are trying to pass through. What I'll say, Ayub, according to your question, is that social media is a tool. Because what we've realized, more so as young people, and Interparties Youth Forum is a caucus that brings together all political youth leagues, what we've realized is that we don't have power as young people, and we don't have resources as young people, and we don't have a lot of things that supports politics. So that's why most of the time we are marginalized as young people in politics. But then social media comes in, and we can have our own podcasts, we can have our Twitter conversations while we are far. Some are in Kisumu, some are in Mombasa, some are in Nairobi. We can actually hold a conversation and talk about our issues. We can have WhatsApp groups, we can have Twitter spaces, we can have Facebook comments and posts and accounts. So social media helps us as young people currently, Ayub.